And welcome back to another episode of Psychic Evolution. I'm Jimmy Clark.
And I'm Maggie Clark, and this is the podcast where you discover the psychic potential within to empower yourself and manifest your psychic and mediumship gifts. Today, we are revisiting the magic of 3, 6, and 9. Now, on season 4, episode 13, we did have the Magnificence of 369 with a special guest, Devon Kramer. So we'll have a link in the show notes if you want to check out that episode. It was a fantastic episode, but we still had a lot of questions like, I don't really get it. I don't really get why is 369? Why is that so important? And again, we love Nikola Tesla. We love the inventions he had, the work he did, upcoming technology, his connections to, spirit aliens, all the things that are speculative, but also well known. So we really do appreciate the work that he's done. So a lot of this comes about because he did everything in synchronicities of 369. When he would enter a building, he'd walk around it 3 times before he'd enter. He'd have to have a hotel room that added up to a certain numerical value. And so with all of those things, we're like, why? What? He said this is the key to understanding the universe. And so we want to revisit this 369 and really talk about the numerological breakdown of it so we can better understand how possibly this can offer us the keys to the universe.
I think getting a variety of different perspectives and different ways to integrate these numbers and see the reaction to those actions of using the number will allow us to become a little bit more comfortable and trusting of the information and how we feel about it and connect with it.
So let's jump on in because honestly, 369, some of my favorite numbers. Now, a little bit about numerology before we go too far forward. There are only 9 numbers. Everything else is going to reduce. And we have several episodes with Barbara Wheeling. She is a numerologist that I recommend. There's also Sue Frederick was on our podcast. She's also a numerologist. So there are some background energies about these 9 numbers that we have. And I will put a link in the show notes to the one that really breaks down all the numerological values. It was the first episode we had with Barbara Wheeling. So I'll put that link in the show notes. So if you want to go study what your numbers mean all the way from 1 through 9, that's an episode that you'll want to go to. But in this podcast episode, we're really going to just focus on the 369. Now, the 3 energy is a building block. So when we think of numbers, we remember that number is the law of the universe. Everything breaks down to a numerological value. And numbers don't lie, right? So a 1 is always going to vibrate with the energy of a 1, a 2, a 2, a 3, a 3. So numbers are very, very clear energetically what the vibration is. Every science is built off of numbers. Every language is also built off of numbers and letters. And so we have to remember that all of these numerological components come into our languaging, what we know, how we study, how we perceive reality, and is encapsulated with every single science on this planet. So numbers are huge. They're very, very important energetic vibrations. Remember, everything is energy and vibration. So each number has a signature energy, a signature vibration. And when we tune into those vibrations, we can understand why 369 could unlock the universe. Now, it's kind of my theory that every single number will unlock a key to understanding the universe and yourself. So, and again, there's only 9 numbers, and then 0 kind of expands everything to new levels, right? But everything can be broken down to a primary 1 through 9 number.
And on average, they tend to associate 0s and 1s as some of the makeup of this universe.
What does that mean?
That numbers have vibrational patterns of information, and depending on the 0, which is the complete expansion, and the 1 for new beginnings, to me is we're always expanding into our new awareness.
So think of the number, let's start with the number 3. We have the number 3, which is a number of creativity. But to get to the 3, we build from the 1, the unity, the 2, the balance and sharing, and then the 3 forms a new relationship. So you have to get really creative. When we think about sacred geometry, the 1 is the dot, the 2 is the line, The 3 is the triangle. To get from a line to a triangle, it just forms a new relationship of connection. And so there's a lot of creativity that goes into being able to build from just a line to a triangle when you think of the building blocks of the universe. And so, as you have the triangle and you have the energy of 3, this is all about the Trinity. And when we understand the Trinity, we understand the divine creative matrix because that's how the 3 energy vibrates. The 1 in the tarot could be the magician, the 2 could be the high priestess, and the 3 is the empress. Also, an expression of she's always pregnant, giving birth to the next creative process of life. And that is not just giving birth to a child of the body, it could be a child of the mind, a child of the spirit, a project you're working on. It could be a creative expression of anything, but it is the divine feminine creative matrix. What's interesting about the magician, it brings in the conscious mind. The high priestess brings in the subconscious mind. And when you blend them, you almost get a universal mind. And so here at the Trinity, you're dealing with the fabric of existence, the divine creative matrix. And that is powerful because as we create who we are in life, as we create our own lives, we tap into that power, into the energy, into the fabric of the divine creative matrix, into the vibration of 3. It is the birthing process. It represents life, birth, and death. So we have 3 phases of the triple goddess, mother, maiden, crone. Also, it's been seen as the Holy Trinity, Father, Son, Holy Ghost. Although before it was all masculine, it might have been father, mother, child, right? So we want to just kind of perceive this Holy Trinity not through the lens of any religious paradigm that we've been taught, but just through the fabric of existence. So the power to create, the power to give birth to life, the power to actually feel the vibration of the divine creative web of all life. That is what 3 vibrates with. And so as Tesla went along his life, he was a little bit what we might call OCD. He had behaviors where things had to be done in patterns revolving around the 3, the 6, and the 9. And so as a psychic medium, Jamie, I know you have a lot of OCD tendencies, like everything has to be in a certain place. Can you explain what that feels like when you have to do something just because of the precision of the energetic dynamics?
And that's exactly what it is feeling the energy of those dynamics. I always share the fact that everything in this house is placed by how it feels. And it's an energy alignment that, most people don't even pay attention to the numbers. It's like, that's okay. Notice everything is happening anyhow. You can vibrate those energies of connection to you. What feels right, in what way, in what place, at what time. And then you'll be able to kind of take those steps of consciousness and expand from there. Because for me, those feelings are the language of the soul. And it's that one feeling that is worth 1,000 words and then some. So it's a much more communicative aspect of numbers and feeling those vibrational patterns of energy from those numbers.
As Tesla has to walk around a building 3 times, you have to place things energetically of how it vibes. Do you have any numbering system? Like, do you like patterns of 3, patterns of any type of number that you've noticed?
Funny, but I like them all. And what's interesting is even when we're out walking, there are times when, for me, it's a voice of communication, my own awareness, my guides, that are like, okay, take a step over here, skip this one, step over here. I'm like, okay. So literally every step I take is guided. Now, it's not that it controls me because I control it, but it is an alignment of energy that for whatever reason, me just in this physical reality, we're taking the steps down the path of life and literally knowing and feeling where each step needs to be placed to continue down that path of life.
So when we are energetically aligning ourselves with rhythms of the universe, whether it's numbers 369 or whether it's our spirit guide saying, hey, take a step to the left, skip that step, step over that crack, put that here, put that there. This is an alignment that we tune ourselves into depending on what we're listening to. And so Tesla, as he's working, he was a scientist, right? So he was working with numbers, he was working with equations. So for him to gravitate to the foundational energy of numbers was very natural for him, I could imagine. And of course, this is all speculative. He never let anybody know why he did things with 369 or why he even said that you could find the answers to the universe within those numbers. But as I have studied numbers, I can understand the value and the potency of these numbers. So as we have that three energy, that creativity, the Trinity, what gives birth, life, and death, the rhythms and the cycles of nature, we find this triangle forms new types of relationships. There's a new creative edge. There's like what can be birthed from imagination, from passion, from the flow of that divine creativity as it moves through you. And once you tap into that rhythm, it really offers some beautiful cycles. Now, the 369, when we're looking at it from a tarot perspective, 3 is the Empress, 6 is the Lovers, and 9 is the Hermit. And we see 3 phases of the triple goddess energy. We have the birthing energy at the 3, the life energy at the 6 with the Lovers, and the completion energy, the death energy at the Hermit, which completes a cycle of being. It doesn't mean you're going to die, it just completes a cycle of life. And so this 369, even as it's seen through the eyes of tarot or the eyes of numerology, offer us an understanding of the rhythmic cycles that we live in this universe. So 3, we're pregnant, we give birth, we give creative energy, we start creating the life of who we are and how we're going to live. And then as we jump into the energy of 6, we are now harmonizing. We're finding a peace. We're finding a balance. There's an ability to share ourselves with others. Sometimes, which we see at the Lovers, it's a sharing of male and female, but it's also a harmonization of energy, above, below, within, without, removing polarity and dichotomy within, returning to a place of wholeness, of connection, of ultimate partnership. 6s have to do with finding a balance of partnership. Now, first, this balance is within yourself. At the Lovers is the first time that we can have a balance and a partnership with our higher self. Once we are harmonized between our energetic fields of male, female, and this is just energetic signatures. It's not about being a woman or being a man. Everybody has female energy. Everybody has male energy. You balance out those energy dynamics. You remove what you perceive is good, bad, right, wrong. You come to a unity within. The 6 offers us a blending, a unification process so that we can return to a place of wholeness by understanding the laws of the universe that do polarize to bring us together. The law of rhythm, the law of polarity, the law of gender, the law of correspondence, the law of vibrations, right? All of these things figure out how to balance with this 6 energy. How does this come into a place of unification and into a place of wholeness? And this is where we find peace. This is where we find life. This is where we want to share ourselves with each other and the world and with our higher selves.
I think that's beautiful. So I'm sitting here listening, the 369 is the 3 is the sequential aspect of getting a direction moving, going in a new direction, I believe, as it's being facilitated. 6 is the balance point of the past, present, and future. And then as you move into the unification of 9, in this case, it creates a whole new beginning. So it's kind of nice if we can live by the numbers in a way that's more relaxed. It doesn't have to be the complexity. It can really be simple. Chi, my master guide, calls it the complexity of simplicity. It is simple. We just overanalyze. We talk ourselves in or out of anything, but you'll never fool yourself with those feelings of the soul. And it's that kind of connection that I think Nikola Tesla was in his own way able to read those energy vibrations from the numbers. And for me it's kind of interesting, but the zeros and ones that to me make up this universe in numbers in this way, As the zero is the ever expanding, the one is the new beginning. It is always within the new beginning of expansion. And so, it's just more of the practicality of when we can have all of these numbers, a little bit more scientific methodology to put the practicality of this spirituality, moving it from, okay, science fiction to science fact.
And then if you look at the vibration of 9 and also 6, okay, when we break it down to having the vibration of a 1 and a 0, we have a line and a circle. We have matter and we have spirit. And this is the first language that we have in the universe. What is energy and what is matter? And so as you see the number 9 float in, right, we have spirit over matter, whereas 6 is matter over spirit. We have the balancing poles of the universe, because once something becomes manifested, energy or spirit then returns to matter. Matter then returns to spirit. So this is the basic primary language of the breath of life. The primary language of numbers is the zeros and the ones, the spirit and the matter. It is a primary languaging for everything that comes after. So as we see the 3, the 6, and the 9, we see like this creative energy, and then we see the 6, which is matter over spirit, and then spirit over matter going into the 9. And as we flow from the 6 to the 9, as we start talking about the number 9, 9 is about completions. It's about finishing up. It's coming home to yourself. It's taking that spiritual energy of the 0, right, on top of the one. If you were to look at the number 9, it looks like a 0 on top of a 1, right? So we're taking that spirit and we're fully manifesting ourselves as a full, complete, manifested person on this planet right now, right? So this is the 9, where there's a completion. And there's also endings, because as the cycles of life happen, we have birth, we have life, and we have death. We have a rhythm, a cyclical nature that this whole universe is vibrating with. Nothing lasts forever. Everything is in this state of change. So as we vibrate with that energy of 9, we are vibrating with coming home back to ourselves, right? Making sure that the 3, whatever we give birth and life to, it might take us a little bit out into the world at the 6s, right? When we're living life, when we're involved in life, when we're sharing in relationships, when we're having relationships with ourselves and how it is in relationship to the world around us. And then we bring that back home to who we are, to who we've always been, to who we always will be. And we find this place of completion within who we are. Oh, you mean I'm whole and complete already? Nothing has to change? I am who I am? And then also any endings that we have. Remember the 369, if we give birth to a creative project, like, okay, cool, I'm going to give birth to this one podcast show, right? I'm going to give birth to it. Here I am living it, giving the 6 energy, giving it the breath, giving it the creative flow, really creating this. And then it's going to have life. And eventually, what's going to happen to this podcast episode? Will it fade out and just have its moment of time and then, return to the vastness of humanity and be lost in a distant memory? So this 9 energy is the fullness. It's the completion. It's seeing that creative project of your I am creative essence come to a place of fullness, fully known, fully felt, fully understood, fully integrated. And so here's the flow, right? I give birth to who I am. I definitely live whatever I've given birth to. And then I'm ready to shift that, change it. The cycles of life, the 3, 6, and 9. It's such a powerful vibration for that Trinity. Now, when we look at the tarot card of the Hermit is the one that is holding a lantern and he's holding a staff. The staff is representative of the energy he used to create his life, right? So it goes right back to the 3, the creative energy that he's using. He now harnesses it. He now controls it. He now can utilize the magic that's within his passion and his creative essence. And the lantern that he carries is the light that he finds within himself. Because he gave birth to a creative expression of himself, he figured out how it's in relationship to himself and the whole, and then he brings this light home and understands the light he has within that is always going to shine. And then he takes that light on his lantern, he puts on a hilltop for all to see, so we can all follow along in the footsteps as the hermit is the guide. So it is the legacy that we leave behind. When we study 9 in numerology, we're studying what is the legacy? What is the history? What is the background? What are we going to leave here? What's our stamp in humanity? What are we going to leave for humans? We're going to leave who we are, our light, our essence, our energy. It permeates through the whole vastness of the universe. So this 9 energy helps you understand the light you are within, the full completion, really coming home to yourself, coming home to the deep, deep understanding of the Trinity. The Trinity is life, birth, and death, but it's also you being born into this place, understanding who you are in connection to the whole, and then owning that you are the whole. So again, we're coming back to the vastness, to the fullness, to the completion of who you are, who you've been, and who you always will be. Now we have to wrap our heads around, can we allow ourselves to have the power and the potency to not only be the divine creative matrix in your own life, but the one to bring balance and harmony within and without through the fabric of all the natural laws of the universe into this reality? And then can we own that? Can we say, this is who I am, and I am full and complete. My soul is with me in this lifetime. It's not just one energetic expression of little Maggie. It's the fullness of my entire soul print of consciousness in the here and now. These numbers of 3, 6, and 9 will always bring us back into the fabric of the universe, of how to creatively express and harmonize and own who you are, the 3, the 6, and the 9.
That always complete dynamic, that just gets me to remember each and every time I unify with the oneness, my soul is full. There's not all the regrets that humans have to make choices and learn to live with it one way or another. And certainly understand because we're used to that. But after many years, I asked Chi, my master God, I'm like, Chi, how is it that when I unify with the oneness, I don't have all of these regrets that we coulda, shoulda, woulda, and all of those dynamics? And why do I feel so full, so complete? He's like, well, Jamie, on a quantum level, all experiences are happening now. All potential outcomes are happening now. Your soul print of consciousness is connected to each and every one of those alternate realities. And just because you may not be aware of it does not mean it's not being registered into your Solodex as an eternal soul print of consciousness. And I'm like, oh man, that makes sense because I had no idea why I feel so amazing and so full. And it's not a negative full, it's a beautiful fullness. And every time I was coming back into this body, I'm like, holy cow, most of us running empty. And when's it over? And so for me, to have Chi be my insight, to give me some guidance and insight along the way, to understand some of these dynamics and experiences and ways of seeing things that are a little bit more practical, a little bit more able to fit into our life experience in a spiritual way. Because to me, I always say we've got to be able to fit this spirituality into our life, or we start feeling like a nut job and an outsider, finding comfort in whatever way. And, watching you work, Mag, I've always been impressed with the way you present information, and a lot of the dynamics that I used to see one way, I now see another way because of being with you. I think that that's a beautiful dynamic. What got you interested into astrology, numerology, tarot? What was the catalyst of consciousness?
I actually started studying the numbers when I started studying tarot. It's part of how the tarot is made. It's part of how it's constructed. There's a numerological value system to each card, to each energy, to each essence. And so that's how I really got interested. It was my desire to learn the tarot and to really understand the esoteric wisdom that was locked in there and that got put in there and meant to activate these hidden, deeper mysteries of life. And I honestly feel like with the 369 of where Tesla actually was going is, hey, God is within you. You are the creator of your life. You are creating your own reality. I think this was his understanding of the 369. And how could he, in the early 1900s, actually tell people that they were God? Like that would have been a little bit stepping out of people's comfort zones. But now, as we talk about divine sovereignty, as we talk about being our own God, and we are one, and I am the droplet, and the droplet is the ocean. Here we are expanding consciously so that we can actually accept that we could be just as powerful as where we've given power to outside of ourselves for thousands of years. I think the creative construct of humanity, this divine creative matrix, is a constantly morphing, shifting thing, because we're all creating these realities all the time, but we are co-creating in a bigger picture. But we are one, right? So if we are part of the whole, then we are also part of the creator, and the creator is part of us. And this is where I really feel the 369 harmonizes that, because you do have the divine feminine creative matrix. It is a feminine energy that creates realities. It's like the grandmother spider weaving the web of creation. I feel the 6 energy allows us to see what is polarized, me and another person, me, my feminine energy and my masculine energy. It's all these phases where we see a mirroring effect of, okay, right, wrong, good, bad, male, female, like the polarities, the divisions, the mirrors that we have in life between ourselves and another person, the partnerships, the relationships we find ourselves in, to help show us, to help teach us that all we have to do is harmonize the unification process within. And then that brings us right to the fullness, the completion, coming home to yourself. This is what it's meant to be. Now, this, of course, is speculative. Nikola Tesla did not tell us this is what it meant. This is my interpretation of, oh my gosh, we are God and God is us. If we can understand this, if we allow ourselves to be this powerful, then we are 100% responsible for the creative expression that we have, the reality that we're creating, the reality that we're living. This is a lot of responsibility when we decide we are responsible. We can't place blame anymore. We can't say it was so-and-so's fault or anything, because we're a part of this whole mess, this whole kit and caboodle. And so again, this is a very powerful energy. It is saying, I am now going to assume the responsibility of being my own divine creator in my life. And that, I think, is what the 369 is about. So we want to hear your thoughts on the 369. These numbers are powerful. And I think every single number is very powerful. We can't have a 3 without a 1 and a 2. Right? We can't have a 6 without a 1, 2, 3, 4, and a 5. Every number builds on the number previous to it. So the 369 encompasses all the numbers of the universe. We also want to look at a circle, okay? Because a circle, we hear of the phrase a perfect circle. A perfect circle is 360 degrees. 3 plus 6 equals 9. If you take that circle and you cut it in half, you have 180 degrees. 1 plus 8 equals 9. You cut that in half, you have 90 degrees. 9 plus 0 equals 9. Cut that in half, you have 45 degrees. 4 plus 5 equals 9. Cut that in half, you have 22.5 degrees. 2 plus 2 plus 5 equals 9. The perfect circle is the 369 relationship. 360 degrees, 36 divine breaths, 369. However you want to cut that slice of the pie, it's going to equal a 9 on a numerological level.
What's interesting to me is that number 9, which is known as the sign of completion, every time you use that number and add it up, it always adds up to a 9, meaning to me there's always new beginnings. What seems as the end is just the beginning. Kind of like life, as I always say, I never ever talk to the dead. There are none. As we perceive death, you die in this dimension and you go to the other side after this. And my thing is, as I always say, one, everything's spiritual. Two, life is relative. Because aren't we right now living on the other side of where we come from before here? Doesn't that mean we must have died? Or could it just be a completion of one phase, the 9, and opening up into the next phase, this particular lifetime at this moment?
Isn't that beautiful?
Mm-hmm.
I love it.
That's great.
So check it out. Vibe with these numbers 369. And if you want to study a little bit more of the tarot, the background of the numbers in the tarot, we do have a full tarot program on our mystery school. So you can check that out. There's always a link in the show notes for our mystery school. And thank you guys for the questions between season 7 and 8 break. This was one of the questions we really wanted to address. A little bit more clarity about the 369. The power is in your divine creative expression. That's the 3. The power is also in your unification of wholeness. That's your 6. And the power is returning home to your soul print, your soul essence, and that's the 9. So have fun with your psychic evolution and your 369.
And have fun. And these abilities are so natural, they're supernatural.